So give me some nice big shoulder rolls coming forward, up, back and down. So really drawing a nice big circle with the shoulders and feeling those shoulder blades moving down and together. Last one. Brilliant. So I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see the first movement we're going to do today. We're going to release the muscles down the back of the neck and between the shoulder blades. So take your hands and put them on the back of your head very lightly. Tuck the chin in, nice big double chin, long back of the neck. You're going to drop the head down. And what you're going to do here is you're going to lift the head up into the hands with about 10% resistance, keeping the back of the neck long. So the head is pushing into the hands are resisting about 10%. Come through upright and carry on to look up towards the ceiling, shortening through the back of the neck. And then smoothly and slowly reverse that movement to come back through upright. Tuck the chin in, nice big double chin, long through the back of the neck, and nod the head forward and down, keeping that resistance at about 10%. And then release and have a little nod through and feel how we've released those muscles down the back of the neck. So hands lightly on the back of the head, tuck the chin in, double chin, drop the head down. From here, lift the head up into the hands, long through the back of the neck, 10% resistance from the hands. Move up through upright. Slowly and smoothly shorten through the back of the neck to look up towards the ceiling, still resisting about 10%. And then when you reach the end of your range, come back up through upright, long through the back of the neck, tuck the chin, nod the head down, and long, long, long through the back of the neck with the hands just winning out over the head. And release, and nod through. You will feel why I call this flip-top head. Hands on the back of the head, tuck the chin, big double chin, nod down, long through the back of the neck, and then lifting the head into the hands, lengthening through the back of the neck. So think of growing taller through the head, and then through upright, 10% resistance. Make sure you're not getting heavy-handed here. Look up towards the ceiling. And then reverse smoothly and slowly to come back through upright, tuck the chin first, long through the back of the neck, and then nod the head down, nod the head down, and release. And again, have a nod through the range of movement. And one last one. I love this one. Tuck the chin, nod the head down, long through the back of the neck. So lengthening through the back of the neck as you're pushing up into the hands, resisting away about that 10%, through upright. Continue smoothly and with control to look up at the ceiling. Go only as far as you're shortening the back of the neck, not crunching. And then smoothly transition to reverse back the other way, through upright, long through the back of the neck, tuck the chin in, looking and nodding down, and feeling that stretch through the back of the neck. Brilliant. And release and nod through. So that should feel loads looser now. Brilliant. So stay seated. I'll just shuffle around for you. We're going to do the same principle, but for tightness through the side of the neck. So using movement that's more in this kind of direction. So take your right hand and kind of claw it, a gentle, loving claw, obviously, to grip onto your head. No weight or tension in it yet. Drop the right ear towards the shoulder, and then you're slowly going to straighten up through the neck using the same tussle of just 10% resistance between head and hand. Up to upright, and then carry on over, left ear to left shoulder. Then smoothly and slowly, the same tussle back to upright. So just 10% resistance each way. And release. And just have a little wiggle through the neck, a bit of a shimmy through your new looseness, and set up to go again. So right hand, right ear towards the shoulder, and then slowly straightening up tall. So here your head is just winning out against that 10% resistance from the hand, and then the other way your hand is just winning out against 10% resistance from the head. Back up to upright, have a little move through to loosen off, and go again. So right ear to the shoulder, and then coming up to straight with your head, just triumphing over this 10% resistance from the hand all the way over to the other shoulder, and then coming the other way back up to upright, and release, and have a shimmy, and just make sure throughout this that you're keeping the shoulders down. You're not cheating by bringing the shoulder up towards the head. So here, just lifting the head back up towards upright, moving through upright into that 10% resistance from the hand, over towards the other shoulder, and then reversing smoothly and slowly back up to upright the other way, and release, and have a move through the new looseness in your neck. Fabulous. So now we're going to set up on the other side, left ear to left shoulder, and pushing just 10% into that hand to move the right ear towards the right shoulder, and then back up to upright, and release, have a shimmy through, and again, so left ear to left shoulder, and then lifting into that left hand, slowly, 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 just 10% effort through upright, and then over right ear towards the right shoulder, and then reversing back up towards upright, and release again, and just loosen off, and go again. So as you're doing this, what we're doing here is we're putting the muscles into sort of a contraction against each other, so they work in pairs, and we're using one muscle to tell its opposite pair to switch off, which is what's creating the looseness that you feel after you've done the movement. Fabulous. And the last one. So just lifting up towards upright, keeping that below that sort of 10% amount of effort. We shouldn't be sort of forcing and pushing this. It's about less is more with this one, particularly in these little muscles in the neck. And release. Brilliant. Lovely. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come up to kneeling up. If you need to pop something squishy under your knees because you're a bit bony there, then feel free. If you need a bit more padding, just make sure it doesn't make you wobbly. Shoulders down away from the ears. Reach your fingers a long way out behind you with your palms turned in. So I'll show you here. Feel the shoulder blades move down and together. Chest open, but your abs on to stop you arching your back too much. If you know Pilates, think dart arms. So holding that position, what we're going to do with a long back of the neck is turn the head to the right, and then slowly back to centre, and then turn the head to the left, and come back to centre. And release the arms, and then reset. So pushing the fingers down towards the floor, turn the head to the left this time, and then to the centre, and to the right, and back to the centre. And release. So one more set of two. So reset the arms, reach the fingertips towards the floor, turn the head to the right, and centre, and left, and centre, and release. And reset again, reach the fingers long down behind you, turn to the left first, then to centre, and to the right, and back to centre, and release. And come down to kneeling just on your heels here. Fab. So what we're going to do now is wake up the muscles which stabilise our shoulder blades and stabilise our arms. So sit up tall, elbows tight into your sides, palms upwards like you're holding a tray. We're going to move one at a time. So first the right, you're going to use the shoulder blade muscles to rotate the upper arm to bring the hand out and return. And then the left, use the shoulder blade muscles to rotate the upper arm to take the hand out to the side and return to centre. So just keep going alternately with that rhythm. So what we're doing here is we're really waking up those little stabilising muscles and postural muscles around the shoulder blades and the scapula. But we're doing it one arm at a time because it gives you more of a chance to notice what's going on in the muscles on each side, because we're quite often a little bit lopsided there. And if you do both at the same time, you can sort of achieve the movement without really noticing what's going on. So we're really isolating and focusing here. So holding those elbows close into the ribs and making sure that what you're feeling here as you do this is that you're using those shoulder blade muscles to start the movement, to rotate that upper arm out. And it's almost like the hand is just coming along for the ride. So all of the movement that you're noticing and focusing on is around the shoulder blades. And as we do this, not only are we waking up and activating those muscles, but we're also encouraging the muscles through the chest and front of the shoulder to let go and open up as well. It's a brilliant exercise and really effective when we isolate and focus on one at a time. So we'll make this the last pair. So squeezing through that one shoulder blade and return to center, and the last one, and returning to center. Brilliant. So come to seated now on your mat. And what you're going to do is lean back on your hands with your legs out in front of you and your feet flat on the floor. Your starting position is to swivel so that your legs are at right angles. So your right thigh is horizontal with the knee at 90, and the left thigh is vertical with the knee at 90. We're going to swivel the knees up and over, pivoting on our heels to land the knees at 90-90 on either side. So just swiveling softly through this movement. Keep going, a bit like windscreen wipers. This is the movement. We're loosening up the hips without pulling at any of the muscles, just softly getting them to be more mobile. Watch your feet don't sort of walk off across the floor with you because you end up sliding down onto your back like you're a bit drunk. So just keep an eye on where your feet are going. And just moving through this gentle movement, softly mobilising the hips. And one more back over just to finish. Great, excellent. So we're going to stretch off the piriformis now. So it's a little muscle which has a huge influence on how we ride. What you want to do is bring the left foot to tuck almost under the right buttock. Then take the right foot, cross it over the left thigh, and plant the foot solid and stable, rooted into the mat. Just scooting around to show you the next bit. So that right foot is going to stabilise you, so make sure it's feeling solid. Your right buttock should come up off the mat. So it's one big difference with this one compared to other similar looking stretches. Your left arm reaches forward and around the right leg, and then hug it in with your weight going into that right foot to stabilise you. You should feel a deep, localised stretch here. Get as huggy and as low as you can. Prop yourself up on cushions, a sofa, a footstool, pause the video, get whatever you need to get yourself stable here. It doesn't matter what you need to do to support your upper body. It's all about just getting that deep, localised stretch right deep in that right buttock. So if you need cushions, a bolster, footstool, sofa, anything, whatever, you can use your other arm as well, as long as you can create that hug tight enough to feel that deep stretch in that buttock. And you want to hang out here for as long as you possibly can. We're doing a minute. If you're tight, do 2 minutes, do even more when you can. Our piriformis always hangs on tighter on one side than the other, and it causes all sorts of kinks to our riding. It influences how straight we sit, how our legs hang out of our hip, and so on. So just giving that muscle time to release. Pause and take longer if you need, but otherwise we're going to release and set up on the other side. So bring the right foot to tuck almost under the left buttock, then take the left foot, cross it over the right thigh, plant that foot solid and stable into the mat. Then your right arm reaches forward and wraps around, and get into that low huggy position as much as you can. Again, do whatever you need to do to stabilise the top of your body. And notice which side the stretch feels most needed. So for lots of riders, it's this side. This stretch can be tough to get the hang of, but it's really important. We have to equalise before we start to train any strength in. Otherwise, we're training our asymmetry in. We're making it more established. So we've got to get the overactive muscles to let go and to equalise things up so that we're not just strengthening the same wonky function. This is why going to the gym and doing strength training, even doing normal Pilates, isn't always the best for us. And we want to do these things in order so that we can equalise before we strengthen. We only want to start testing those muscles when we know they're able to do what they should in balance. So pause and stay here if you need longer. Otherwise, uncurl and sit tall up on your seat bones. So I'm just going to come around to make sure that I'm lengthways on the mat. So sit up tall on your seat bone, knees bent, feet flat on the mat. We're going to get mobility into the spine and switch on the deep stabilising ab muscles. So hands rest lightly on the thighs, no Vulcan death grip here. We're going to inhale into the ribs and then exhale to scoop the abs to C-curve the spine back, holding yourself steady with your scooped in abs and then inhaling to return to upright. So this is your movement. So you're going to inhale to come back up to upright, and then exhale to scoop the abs from the knicker line, curving the spine back in a nice C shape, and then inhale to come back up. And you're using the abs here to control. If you want a bit more challenge, take the arms out, and repeat. So all the way through this movement, you're working with the breath, exhaling to scoop, inhaling to come back to the top, and everything is controlled by those low ab muscles. So the movement starts with the low ab muscles, you control the speed of the movement with the low ab muscles, and you bring yourself back up with the low ab muscles. So we're mobilising through the spine, but also switching on those stabilising muscles, which we really need in the saddle. So last one. Exhale, scoop and C-curve back, and inhale to come back up to upright. Brilliant. So let's develop that now with more mobility and control of the spine. Come to lying with your shoulders down away from the ears and squared off, your knees bent, your feet flat on the mat, heels about a hand's length from the bum. So you have your hands by your sides. I'm just going to lift mine so that you can see what's going on. You want your spine in neutral. What that means is that you can get your fingers in the side of the small of the back here, but not your hand all the way through. This is our starting position. Your knicker line abs should be level, like a tabletop. If you've got squish on top, that's cool. Just visualise the muscles underneath, make sure they're level so we know your pelvis is level. So inhale into the back and side of the ribs, then exhale through the mouth and use the breath and those knicker abs to push the spine flat down into the mat for a full exhale, and then inhale and release back to neutral. I'm just going to do a couple of these, just pressing the spine, using the breath to press the spine into the mat, and inhaling back to neutral. Exhale to press the spine into the mat, and inhale to return to neutral. All of the effort should come from the low abs. Make sure you're not pressing the heels into the ground to achieve it. So make this one the last one. And now we're going to build on that towards a bridge with control. Inhale into the ribs to prepare, then scoop the low abs to push the back flat, and then begin to tilt the pelvis and slowly peel up a few vertebrae just to the waist, and then control slowly, slowly, slowly back down into neutral. We're going to go a little bit more each time. So inhale into the ribs to prepare, exhale to switch on the abs, scoop and tilt and lift the pelvis and peel one more vertebra off the mat this time. And then with control, lower back down one vertebra at a time, rippling the spine back down onto the mat. Inhale into the ribs to prepare, exhale to switch on and scoop the abs, scoop and lift the pelvis, peel the spine off one bone at a time, going slightly higher this time. And then as you come back down, control, 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 really imagine placing one vertebra down on the mat at a time. Just keep going with that rhythm, but each time we're going to lift one more vertebra off the mat with control, and make sure your knees are staying in. They're going to want to splay out on you a little bit, so make sure they're staying tracking with the hips, and control, 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 back down. Inhaling into the ribs, exhale to scoop the abs, tilt and lift the pelvis and peel the spine one bone at a time up off the mat, up now towards the shoulders. And then when we're returning back down, one vertebra at a time, control it, move slowly, especially through any crunchy bits, and really control the movement back down onto the mat. Inhale into the ribs. Exhale to tip and tilt the pelvis and lift and peel the vertebrae up off the mat, lifting now up towards the shoulders. Keep the knees in, and then rolling one bone at a time, laying the spine back out down the mat, going as slowly as you need to. And one last one. Inhale into the ribs to prepare. Exhale to switch on the nick align abs, tilt and lift the pelvis, peeling the spine one at a time, up towards the shoulders. And then slowly, really slowly with control, one bone at a time, drops back down like a chain onto the mat until you're back into neutral. Brilliant, well done. So come now to lying on your side. So we're going to line ourselves up along the back of the mat. It's the best way for us to tell whether we're aligned. With our feet coming up off the front of the mat. So you've got a bit of a crease in the hip and your legs are forward for your stability. Head can be down on your upper arm or up on your elbow to suit you. Make sure your hips are stacked so your top hip is on top of your bottom hip, knees aligned, ankles aligned, toes aligned. From here, we're going to bring the top heel back in towards the bottom and take hold of it with the top hand to give a bit of a stretch through the front of the hip and the thigh. So push that top hip forward. Don't be pulling on the knee. We don't achieve the stretch by pulling, that just pulls at the ligaments in the knee. Push the hip forward to create the stretch. And just breathe here for a couple of breaths, letting the front of that leg and hip just release. And then when you're ready, you can release and take that leg back to the starting position. So from here, top leg lifts to hip height, toes reach long, then rotate the whole leg so the top of the foot faces to the ceiling. With control, kick the leg forward, pulsing when you feel the abs kick in, and then with control, kick back, pulsing when you feel the seat muscles kick in. And just move through that motion, pulsing at the end, and with control, pulsing at the end. As you come forward, switching on the abs, and as it swings back, getting into those little muscles around the hip. Keep that rotation through the leg, so keep thinking of the top of the foot facing the ceiling, and the knee facing towards the ceiling. You'll feel it more than you see it, if that makes sense. It's just about making sure that you can feel that you're switching on those muscles around the glute and the seat bone to create that feeling of rotation in the leg. Don't worry if your stabilising leg likes to wave around a little bit like mine did just then. What you're reaching for here is that feeling as you go back to be really getting into those little hip muscles, and that sometimes means that the other leg is going to lift, but it's more important that you're getting the range. Make this the last one. And bring the legs back to starting position. Fabulous. So just come up to sitting and swing your legs around so that you're sitting on the other hip and reach the arm up and over to stretch along through that side that you just worked, the side that was just on top. So breathe some big air into those ribs on that side. And then release and set up lying on the other side. So line yourself up along the back of the mat, feet come forward, hips stacked, ankles stacked, knees stacked. Take the top heel back towards the bottom and hold on to the foot and push that top hip forward to create the stretch through the front of the thigh and the front of the hip. Just take a couple of breaths here. And when you're ready, you can release that leg back to the starting position. Lift the top leg to hip height, rotate to point the top of the foot towards the ceiling and move into the kicks. So kicking into the abs at the front and kicking into the hip at the back and just swinging with control. So making sure this is a controlled movement. Go as slow as you need to control it and make sure that those hips are staying stacked. The top hip on top of the bottom hip. The upper body is stable. All of the movement is coming from that hip. And as you come forward, here you'll feel the lower abs switch on. That's what the little pulse kick at the end is for, just to give us a little bit of extra work into there. And make sure as you're reaching the end of the range, your range may be smaller than mine right now, that's absolutely fine, but just make sure that you're getting to the point where you can feel the abs at the front and you can feel the hip getting to work at the back. Last one. And kick to the back and return to the starting position. Brilliant. So now just come back up to sitting, and as before, swing your legs around to sit on the other hip so that you can reach that arm up and over to stretch long through that side of the body and breathe some big air into those ribs on the right-hand side. If you've done it the same way around as me, but some big air into the ribs. Awesome job today. We've done loads in that session. We've worked the shoulders and upper back to benefit our contacts, to help our hands. We've mobilised the spine. We've got control of the spine, and we've woken up the deep stabilising abs that we need to use our seat to half halt to stay stable on the horse too. So loads of work in just 25 minutes. Well done. I'll see you in the next session.